asking, well, what do you mean? We're greater than animals. Yes, we understand that. But why are we greater than the devatas? The word deve means to give. What does the devatas do for us? Every day the devatas, they supply us with nourishment, with energy. How many of you have gotten a bill from the Surya Narayan Swami for sunlight? Or from Varun Devata for rain? Has any of you got a bill yet? They constantly give us, right? But what do? Instead, we take it for granted. In the Bhagavad Gita it says that first we must perform puja. That is called yukti. When we perform puja and havan, it sends the smoke up in the air. When the smoke up in the air, it forms cloud. When it forms cloud, what happened? Rain come down. When rain come down the earth, what happened? It fortified grains. The grains grow. We eat the grains. When we eat the grains, right, we have energy, nourishment. From that nourishment, we procreate. We have children. When we have children, it gives an ability, it gives the opportunity for a soul to take birth. When the soul takes birth, what happens? The cycle continues. This is the part that we forget. That as human, we have the ability to not only give by performing puja and to pay our bill to the devatas, but also to receive in the form of blessings. And when we receive the blessing, what happened? We're able to tear away at the layers. We're able to pacify the ego. We're able to gain intelligence. Because this is what surrounds the Atma. It says in the Upanishad, the Brahmaranya Upanishad, that the Atma, the soul, and the spirit, the Paramatma, is like two birds sitting on a tree. And on one branch, you have the Paramatma, that part which is pure and God and untouched. And then on another branch, you have the Jivatma. You have the super soul and you have the minor soul. And that minor soul is encased in what is called the Swadharma, your previous birth's actions. If you live a life in your previous birth, if you watch sometime, you know, I'm not picking on any one particular person here, but I have in the audience my sister who's a psychologist, so she can relate to this as well. You know, if you look around the room and you see some people, some of them are very placid and calm, and some of them are very chow-chow, and some of them are very stubborn like a cow. You know, have you ever noticed that? Some people, no matter how you tell them, when they bend their mind on something, no matter what, you can't turn them back. And some people like monkey, chow-chow, like to get involved in everything and to get involved and do everything. And some people are very calm and peaceful. Your Swadharma is the habit that you bring with you from your last life. The footprints, the stamps that was left, that was brought forward with you, and that creates the ego. That is what sheathes the soul, your habit, your past habit. That's why when Pandit look at the book and he say, oh, last Janam, he was in Pret Yoni. He was a zombie still. Last Janam, he was human quality. He was human, but he had deer quality, or he had snake quality, or he had cow quality. That is the reason why. Because that is the footprint, it's called Swadharma. And on one branch, the Jiva Atma, surrounded by the Swadharma intelligence, wrong intelligence of course, is sitting on the other branch, the lower branch. And the Paramatma is sitting there, and all it does is witnesses, like Bhagavan Sri Krishna sitting on the chariot, letting him do whatever you want to do. And Arjuna sitting there, talking and talking and talking. And that soul is enjoying all the fruits of the tree, and Bhagavan just let it do, the super soul just let it do, enjoy all the fruits. Eating up and enjoying the fruits. And when you get tired eating and enjoying the fruits, at some point, hopefully, that bird will turn its head and acknowledge the bird on the higher branch. And when that happens, like Arjuna, he drops down to his knees and he looks up at Bhagavan and says, "Hey Prabhu, now you guide me. I'm tired talking now." My Pupa used to tell a joke, you know. He used to say that two ladies attack, you know, and one of them starts to talk when he done talk, and he tell his story, and the husband walks in and says, "What you talk about?" He stopped talking and said, "Okay, now you turn to talk." He pointed to the other old lady. So until we stop talking and let Bhagavan talk, until we stop talking, until the one bird doesn't stop talking like Arjuna and turn its head to the super soul and acknowledge the existence of the super soul, we will still be caught up into this Ava Gavan Heat Chakra. So the first body is the physical body made up of Prithvi, Jala, Akash, Agni, Vayu. The second body is the Jivatma surrounded by intelligence and ego. And the third body is the spirit soul, which is unchangeable, untouched. Even though the Jivatma is surrounded by ego, it is untouched. It is still pure. It is everlasting. It doesn't get affected. But what makes it what keeps it in suffering is the ego and the wrong intelligence. And that's based on desire, lust, anger, greed, passion. Once that's surrounded, but the minute that soul becomes realized, what does it do? It takes that body off of the ego and intelligence. It retains its identity and it merges and becomes just like the super soul. That is how this body is made up. I want you all to have a clear understanding of this body, the super soul, and the individual soul, which we call the Jivatma. And their interrelation that makes one eligible to become liberated. We must first understand that we have to tear away and subside our desire. That's why in our body we have 5 good thoughts for every bad thoughts. And the minute the head, the leader of that army is Duryodhana. He is the king of material desire. And you know, sometimes when you're sitting and you're trying to think of doing something good, what happens? In the back of your mind, another voice is telling you, "Man, no man, that's too hard. Do the bad thing instead." Well, it's difficult to do good. And it's difficult to do good because it's easier to do bad. And that thought is there telling you, man, don't do the good thing, do the bad thing. Because if you do the bad thing, it's quick and it's easier. So that's when Duryodhana becomes challenged. The king of material desire becomes challenged. So what does he do? He goes and riles up all this negative feeling in you. And when he riles up this negative feeling, there's 100 of that coming at you at the same time. And there's 5 good thoughts, the Pandavas. But you have to be firm. You have to be focused. You have to control. You have to let Bhagwan do his job and let him take up the reins of the chariot and help this individual soul to look at the bird on the higher branch of the tree. And when that happens, my dear devotees of Bhagwan Sri Krishna, the soul becomes liberated. And when the soul becomes liberated, we become self-realized. And that is when we can look at transcending the 3 gunas, tamas, rajas, and sattva. And that is our katha for tomorrow night. The rajas, sattva, and tamas. There's a little story. A young lady went to her mother one day, and she's complaining about how tough life is. He says, God, every day there's so much work. Not every I have to do constantly work, doing something all the time. And while she was complaining, her mother was listening, and her mother went out and took 3 pots and filled them with water on the stove. And in one pot, she chopped up some carrots and put it in one pot to boil. The other pot, she put some eggs to boil. And in the other pot, she put some coffee in a ladle to brew. And while the daughter was complaining, she finally, about 20 minutes of listening to her daughter, she stopped. And she looks at her daughter, she goes, look at those 3 pots and tell me what you see. The daughter quickly replies, I see carrots, eggs, and coffee. The mother brought her closer to the pot and asked her to feel the carrots. Tell me, when you feel the carrots, what do you feel? She did, and she said, well, these carrots are soft. Then the mother asked her, she says, break the egg. When she broke the egg, after pulling off the shell, she said the eggs are hard. She says, finally the mother looked at her and says, sip the coffee. The daughter smiled as she tasted this rich aroma of the coffee. And the daughter asked, what does this mean, Mom? Why are you making me do all this nonsense? Her mother explained that each of these objects had faced the same adversity